my perspective on it has always been that if you can't carry that land, if there's no rental income coming in, if there's not a property on it that I can rent out the home and or do some type of farming on it, are you still okay with that? Like as an investor yourself, because you're like, okay, I'm going to hold this land. I'm going to pay the mortgage on it. I'm going to pay the property taxes on it. There's really no maintenance that's involved, but you're holding on for the long haul that someone else is going to come in and want to redevelop it. Is that kind of the thought process?
There's a few different plays.
Okay.
Most of them are going to be 100% financed, right? So there is no mortgage cost. So keep that in mind. When we're buying land, we are buying it 100%
You are buying it in
cash.
cash. Okay. I wanted to make sure. Because
so it's an unleveraged asset.
Okay,
right?
perfect.
You can do it with 50% financing, but we actually buy it on the premise that we're only going to be paying the taxes, which are negligible, right? So we can carry pieces of, it's a hard asset, and it's something that I think we have some control over because we have information as to what's happening in a lot of these areas.
Where do you get the information? Not as Justin Conoco, like broker owner of prime real estate, right? Not that guy. I want to talk to Alex and Wei, who have no clue where to get this information from. Where are you getting that information? Where can they get that information?
I would argue you don't even get the information by being a broker.
Got it.
It's getting in your car and driving around and opening up your eyes, right? So if you guys are driving around and you see an area that backs onto water and there's only one like waterfront lot left, that's probably pretty valuable, especially if it's surrounded by $3 million houses, right? So using logic and putting yourself in the seat of the consumers is a good investing strategy for anybody, whether you're buying condos, land, buildings. Like you really want to think about what is this going to be? We drove by Ossington, DuPont, and they're like completely developing DuPont. I didn't even know that was happening. I'm like, and I said to Nico, I'm like, oh, I know what's happening here. I bet you in 5 to 6 years, what this is going to be is what Ossington was when they started, right? So I would encourage people, get in your car. It's fun. It's actually fun to drive around and look at real estate. And that's how we find a lot of our deals.
Well, it's funny, man, because like what we know as King West right now, specifically like in the area of Liberty Village, if you went there, I'm going to say about 15 years ago, 18 years ago, it was like those old Western movies with the tumbleweeds blowing and shit like that. Go there now, Liberty Village has to have, I don't know, like maybe 25 towers there, tons of townhomes, completely developed. It was selling for... Back in about 15 years ago, it was selling for probably about $300 to $400 a square foot. Units were. That thing trades now at $1,200.
So when they did that, though, everybody said they were crazy.
100%. They thought I was on crack when I was telling them this is going to go from 300 to 400 to 700 to like they were like, no, it's going to stop. And now it's at 1,200. But you were going to say?
Let's make a comparison.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the real estate market versus what you just explained. Everybody right now is you're crazy to invest in the market right now. Mortgage rates are going up. Look what's happened to the pricing. But if you step back and you look at it from a 30,000 foot view, if you truly believe the market's never going to rebound, then yeah, it is crazy to invest. But if you look at the historic data and you think that the prices have adjusted enough where you're getting a deal on a property that in a up market, the prices are going to be much, much higher. The cost of purchasing is the same. Then you really need to ask yourself, like, are you a real estate investor or not? Because when they did those developments in King West, everybody said they were crazy. And then they said that, they were lucky that they got the land and they fell into it. But really it was somebody that was able to look past the general sentiment. And whenever I see people formulating opinions about the real estate market and what successful people are doing, it's usually coming from people that aren't doing anything. They just like to have an opinion on something so they feel like they're on that team, right?
We got the keyboard warriors.
Don't even start. You guys are on TikTok, right? So I'm sure you see it more than I do.
100%.
It's fascinating. I was going to troll you on one of your posts and be like, you don't need an agent. Home Depot sign $5. I've seen that post.
Oh, no. Our girl Laura put something up there a couple of days ago or yesterday and somebody was trolling her. And all she said was, put it like the best return on your investment is adding an income suite.
Sure.
Which makes sense. Like
logical.
Like logical sense, right? And somebody starts trolling you about, no, you're only going to get back this 50% in year one or something like that. And they just kind of went off and were like, dude, I can show you 1 million homes in the last like 2 years that if you just added an income suite, what it was worth before and now what it's worth afterwards. Like black and white numbers.
Divide additional rent by 5%.
Exactly.
And add that to your bottom line.
There you go.
There's a TikToker and a Twitter person that I've seen who I actually thought, was in the finance space and fairly intelligent until I noticed that it was a troll account. It was just it was a trigger account. So she says things to really upset people and like, you can't find a cash flowing property in urban centers. And I'm like, that seems really weird. I Google urban center. It's a population of 50,000 people or more. I'm like, I got cash flowing properties. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. But I think people that, and this is a transition, I guess, to media and real estate. There's a lot of people in media using real estate as a buzzword, spreading this information because it gets them followers. And then they sell a course for financing, and that's how they make their money.
Well,
right?
we went exactly 6 to 7 minutes and we couldn't get away from talking about media.
Well, it's all integrated, right?
I told everybody that we just wouldn't be able to get away from it. Going back to real estate though, brother. So what are you telling people, the guys and gals that are saying that the sky's falling right now in real estate?
I think I'm trying to ask the right questions to find out where they're at, right?
Okay.
Like, do they need to buy? Do they need to sell? If the answer is yes, it's a very different set of conversations where like, hey, Taylor Hack said this the other day. He's like, do you want it in the face or do you want it in the stomach, right? Because if you have to sell in a down market, you're going to likely lose what you could have gotten back in February or March. But if you bought the thing 10 years ago, you can't look at those numbers. You look at the numbers you bought it 10 years ago and then look at your profit from there. For the other people that are looking to purchase, we're really just making sure that they're lean. We're making sure that they're tight on their estimates. And when we run our pro formas, we're being very conservative. We're not inflating numbers. We're looking at, the true aspects of the property, how it's performing. We're spending a lot of time talking to appraisers. I talked to one 2 days ago. I'm like, hey, Bobby, what's changed over the last 30 days? How are you guys appraising things? Are you looking at gross income factor? Like, what are you looking at for an ARV? Because if I advise Laura to buy a property, I want to be able to tell her, yeah, you have comps in the last 60 to 90 days, but FYI, the appraisers are being really bullish and they're going 20% under those numbers because it's declining. But if the numbers still make sense, the deal still makes sense. So we're just getting a lot deeper in our analysis. And we've also put up big walls around who we work with. So no longer are we working with our entire database, providing an insane level of service. We're looking to our database and saying, hey, I get you're an investor. Real estate agents are a dime a dozen, but so are investors. You want this level of service? We need to have a conversation that you're working with us and we'll go to bat for you. We'll find the deals. If you're kind of just browsing, now's not the time. Still in our system, we'll provide insane value. Yeah. We're family. You let me know when you're ready to buy. And I think that's been the biggest difference maker for our team and actually getting out there.
I'm going to ask you to unpack a couple of things there, but I wanted to go back to something that you said earlier, that if you're somebody who's watching right now or listening and you're thinking that the market's not going to rebound, you're right. Then you probably shouldn't invest. And maybe you can look at investing into, and I don't mean this by like any means, any type of joke, like the cryptos and the stocks and I'm going to be bringing people on, right? That onto the podcast to help people create wealth in those strategies the right way. That's why I'm bringing you on to talk about real estate. But if you're someone who thinks that it's not going to rebound, don't invest into this, because you need to have a stomach to invest into real estate. It's just unfortunate that for the last 14 years, we've been in a very frothy environment when it comes to you were in the market in 08, 09. I was as well here in Canada, man. It was like minuscule. It was like 3 months of a dip or something. Not even it didn't. We really didn't get affected, right? And so people who said that this is similar to 08, 09, I actually think they're wrong because A, the interest rates never went up as high as and as quickly as they did now. B, there was no money really given to people. This time around, there was money being printed. In Canada, we didn't really print a lot of money in 08, 09. The Americans did. So if you're someone who's savvy, though, and I think that's what you were trying to say, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, that those are the type of investors that you're really working with right now. The guys and gals that are like, okay, hey, I get the interest rates have gone up, but in certain areas, the values have come down. Your cost of actually purchasing is the same. Actually, your monthly payment in most cases has only gone up or down by like $50-$60 on the average of an $800,000 to $900,000 home, right? And so as long as you're looking at it, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I also got new listeners and viewers, you need to be looking, and I want your take on this, brother, you need to be looking at real estate in that 10-year window, because we know over time, specifically in the GTA, that over that decade, values have doubled on average for the last 100 years. Now, when you're looking at an investment for yourself? And when you're letting your clients know about it, Justin, what kind of windows are you in? Like, are you in a 2-3 year window? And I don't think it's wrong. It's just my opinion that it should be in and around that 10-year kind of window.